What's going on, class? It's DJ, and good evening. I'm sorry I couldn't be there with y'all physically. I'm there in spirit. I hope all y'all doing well in class. So, jump right into it, man. Short-term or long-term consequences of female genital mutilation. Usually, man, when I do my little presentations, I like to make them like energetic and fun and all that. But based on the topic, man, and the discussion and the content, I can't really like make nothing out of this. It's like it's no fun. You cutting the man out of the boat. You just got a boat, and that's just floating in the water. Sometimes they take the whole boat, and that's bad. So jumping on it, man. Short-term consequences of female genital mutilation. So the first thing, if you ever seen any of these videos, man, the videos are just horrifying. You know how they do to little girls like that. They experience severe pain as soon as they start cutting. It's no kind of numbing medication, no nothing. It's just they take it how they get it, and it's excruciating pain. They're screaming. It's horrible. So behind that, they bleed. They bleed a lot, and then like in like a little video I seen, they're like the woman just splashing like water on it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's gonna do something and all that, like to help stop the bleeding. It's not. Like depending on what age they are, usually they do it's like from infants to like age 15, depending on their culture. Like babies, man, can die from this. That's one of the short-term consequences is death. Like their little bodies ain't built to like withstand this kind of procedure. So that's just another bad day in itself, man. And then like also with that you have like neurogenic pain, neurogenic shock, nerve damage, and that's like you probably wouldn't even feel nothing else down there, or hopefully, because just experiencing pain like just constantly is just horrible in itself. So little girls after the procedure, man, they got to go to the bathroom sooner or later, and you're gonna experience difficulty urinating, and I'm sure it burns, and you're gonna feel that sting right there, like every time you use the bathroom. And who wants to relive that traumatic experience every time you use the bathroom? It's just horrible. And so, touching back on infection, man, this stretches actually into the long-term consequences. Infection is the big one when it comes into the long-term consequences. You got like you can have chronic UTI infections, chronic pelvic infections, and in the area of the urethra and all that. The UTI infection, if that spreads up, you can go have a renal infection that can lead to renal failure, and that's another bad day in itself. And spreading even further than that, they can spread to the reproductive system. And when you spread to the reproductive system with infection, you lower your chances for having children. And infertility is one of the big long-term consequences. A lot of women, they want to have children and they can't because of something that they involuntarily went through that, man. And it's not right. It's not right at all. So, and depending on what time procedure they have another one where you get infibulation, and that's when they sew up the vaginal wall, the opening, the vaginal walls, and the menstrual cycle can't come through there. And like a woman's supposed to clean herself naturally. That's what their bodies was made to do. And they're taking that away from them. They can't do that. And that can cause all kind of medical issues with that as well. So scar tissue. On top of that, excessive scarring like keloiding and all that. And then if you have infibulation, you got to get recut open, you know what I'm saying, in order to have sex. And the vaginal wall is probably extremely, extremely small with that. And then they got to go through the pain with that as well. And then when they finally decide to have sex, they're going to experience They're going to experience pain with their first couple weeks, within the first couple weeks having sex, and that's not fun for nobody. And then on top of that, it ain't just the female who experienced the pain with the sex; it's the male as well. And I mean, it's probably just because of an extremely small opening, but nobody wants to have be in pain when they're in sex, unless you're into that. So, let's say they get pregnant, okay? They get pregnant and have a child. Problems and complications happen when having a child. Since the vaginal canal is so small and all that, a child could die coming through there. And that's the last thing a woman wants is their child to die because of an involuntary procedure that they had to go through. And if the child don't die, they have a higher risk of having something wrong with them. When the child comes out of the vaginal canal, they got to check and they do the little Apgar. And what's that? What's Apgar, you ask? I know the answer, and I'm gonna tell you. For all those who ain't mothers out there, who don't know nothing about the medical field, APGAR was created by this woman named Virginia APGAR in 1952. It's like a quick assessment to check the baby to see how they doing. It stands for like appearance, pulse, grimace. That's they facial expression they're making. You know all that. You know they frowning up and all that. Activity and respiration. So that's just a quick way to check on the baby to make sure they straight. So that's a little bit of nutritional knowledge for y'all. And on top of that, but again, they have a higher risk for the baby being something wrong with it. And on top of that, they're gonna tear their scar tissue as well, and they're right back to pain. They're probably that psychological feeling of what happened to them back in the day. They're never gonna forget that, and that's another long-term consequences of the psychological trauma that they go to. A lot of the women go through PTSD, and they have to get like actual help, like therapeutical help for that. And so that's just a whole nother bad situation in itself. So that's some of the long-term and short-term consequences of female genital mutilation. So any questions? What was that? Thank you for asking that there, guy in the back. Did you guys hear that? They asked, is there any kind of STDs that they can contract from having female genital mutilation? One of the diseases or infections that they can encounter, they're at higher risk for from that procedure, is herpes, and they also have a higher chance of HIV. There hasn't been any kind of statistical data showing that they're going to get like chlamydia quicker or syphilis quicker, but HIV and herpes is very, very, very close in their future because of that procedure, and that's also not right with that as well. Any more questions? Oh, what? You in the back? Are you just stretching your hand? Okay. Okay. All right, well, you guys, I thank you so much, man. And here's Ananda, who's going to be going over another topic and discussion of female genital mutilation, and she will be showing you guys a video. You guys stay safe out there. All right.